G'day folks. Today we're going to have a look at Matchbox's Hawker Hurricane, Purple Range Kit PK11, originally released in 1973. Today we're doing something a little different. We're looking at the three main variations of the kit. The 1975 boxing, the 1983 reissue in the 80s box, and the Revell-owned final Matchbox reissue of 1992. We'll look at what they have in common and what was changed. It's a great kit, and to me it may just be the best Matchbox kit released. It really shows what Matchbox did right. A kit which was uncomplicated enough for an excited 10-year-old to build, but with good enough outline and basic detail to be built up into a really nice representation of the type, or even super detailed into a show winner. This was my first Matchbox kit. I built it as a 10-year-old, just as it's shown on the side of the box. No paint, decals in generally the right spot, with the added bonus of gluey fingerprints. I took it to school and it was converted from a cannon-armed aircraft to one with machine guns by the simple action of accidentally breaking one cannon off. One off, all off. We'll compare the Matchbox example to the two other Hurricanes that I built in the 80s. The 1984 Revell bagged version of their 1963 tooling, and the 1988 boxing of the 1978 Airfix tool. Today is a chance to see what the kid of the late 70s and 80s had to choose from. So let's have a look. So we'll have a detailed look at the 1975 boxing and then have a look at the other two. So it starts, of course, with Roy Huxley's artwork of Hurricanes attacking German airfields in occupied France, with lots of explosions and low-level flying and action going on. Then we have four other of the Purple range kits that were available, and on the list we have the standard box end artwork. On this side, here's how I built it. Together, decals, no paint. Then the same on this end. On the back we have the window, which gives a glimpse into the excitement to come, and we have the two colour schemes, a night fighter from 87 Squadron RAF and a fighter in day colours, R3 Squadron 1941. What we'll do is we'll open her up and have a look at what's inside. Now this one came in a recent batch that came to me, and I have a pretty good idea that if it's been opened, it hasn't been opened very much. Whoop. There we have it. So this is what we get in the box. Mid brown and cream sprues, which is kind of plausible if you're not going to paint it. And let's start with the instructions. Standard Matchbox instructions of the time with the magenta backing for the Purple range. On the front, picture of the aeroplane, bit of prototypical information. On the back we have the mini paint plan up the top there, which shows you the colours to paint if you are you're not painting the whole thing, just painting a bit of it and putting the decals on. So it's an intermediate stage between unpainted and fully painted. Prototypical information in other languages and how to do the stand. So we'll start. So it's an 8-step instruction list here. Step 1, pilot on the seat. Step 2, the propeller assembly so it'll spin. Step 3, the seated pilot into the fuselage and the halves joined, but making sure to cut the slot out for the stand if you're going to use it. Step 4, the canopy and prop on. Step 5, tail planes. Step 6, the wings and the radio mast. Step 7, the undercarriage. And Step 8, all the other fun bits. And it also gives you the way to do it if you're going to do it with the undercarriage raised for the stand. And then we have the list of the other kits that are available at the time. And then, last but not least, we have the Humbrol paint listing in different languages. And the complaint section. If anyone would want to complain about these kits, send it off and see what you get. So that's the instructions. Looking next at the decals. I won't take the tissue paper off. These look like they've got a bit damp and dried out at some point. So I've got the standard markings there, and from memory they were pretty good. So let's look at the transparencies. So we've got the M stand, of course, and we have the canopy, which is on its own holder. Not the most finely moulded one you'll ever see, but works just fine. Looking at the first sprue in the mid-brown, we see there, looking at the fuselage side, that the outline's pretty good. The representation of the fabric is pretty good. Panel lines are a bit deep, but you know, you can do something about that. Then the prop and the spinner and the main wheels, other half. We have the cannons over here, exhaust stubs, pilot seat, and the radiator scoop underneath, with the mast and various other small parts there as well. Then looking at the back, it is 1973 stamp inside. Looking at the second sprue, the wing detail's pretty good. Possibly slightly heavy panel lines there, but you know. Two sets of undercarriage doors, raised and lowered. Tail planes, wing uppers and lowers. And looking at the other half of this one, that's what we get. Now looking at the 1983 reboxing in the 80s colours, we can see here that it's sealed. So what I might do is I might just take this off. $3.20, bargain. Some may say that you should leave them in their sealed packaging, but how fun was this part of the whole thing? Pulling the plastic off. Looking at the box, changed artwork of course, again by Roy Huxley. We get the same basic layout, bit of information, and then the same markings. First time this has been opened since it left the factory. And I'm going to do a dog's breakfast of it by the looks. I'll try this end. Yeah, that came off a bit better. You see that very similar. The instructions here are exactly the same, but just copied in black and white. And you'll notice that in step 3, where you put the fuselage halves together, there's the big space and the little clear bit where the instructions for cutting the slot for the stand would have been before they deleted the stand. So the instructions the same as the first one. Decals are the same. The first sprue is in a darker colour, less orange, so if you compare that to the original colour, it's a darker brown. And then if you look at the second sprue, the wings in the dark green, compare them to the original, you can see the colour change. And then again, this is the 1992 Revell owned Matchbox boxing, the last one from the series, with artwork by Roy Huxley. And again, a bit hard to see, so I'm going to once again unseal another kit. Sacrilege, perhaps. I have some unsealed ones, but like Christmas presents. If you wrap them off in a way that you can reuse the plastic or the wrapping, you're not doing it right. So that's a nice artwork, even without the action of other aircraft or combat. You can see the excitement of the desert takeoff. Again, we see something different, which indicates that this kit is different from the others. A slight change in the parts. In the end, instructions here, the other end, and then this time we have the night fighter scheme, but we have a desert scheme here, and you can see the cannon pods underneath, but the machine gun wing. So this tells us that something's going to be different. So let us open our second box that hasn't been opened since the factory for this video. Let's see what we've got. Okay. The instructions are the Revell style. PK49, so it's been renumbered, which indicates there's something different. So a less detailed look at the instructions this time. Basically the same. But it has the instructions there for the cannon pods for the 6th Squadron example. Again, you can do it with the wheels up, but that's not much point if you don't have a stand. Although it works perfectly for the Sealing Air Force. Then your more detailed marking map on the rear there. And the paint listing. So that's the instructions. The decals, completely redone. Again, I'm a bit leery of taking the tissue off, but they look in pretty good nick. And if you compare them with these ones of the 1983 decals, which are the same as the 75 ones, quite different. Then we look at the first sprue, and you can see here in the spots there was a bit of vacant real estate here and here where they've put the gun pods and the cannon barrels, and if you compare that with see where they've added the extra parts. Everything else is exactly the same, and it's a slightly different colour. Actually, if we compare this to the 1983 one, we'll see that it is basically, yeah, I think it's the same chocolate colour, but you can tell as I said, you can tell the two apart because one's got the cannon pods and the other one does not. And the other sprue is same again. No changes. Just a remoulding there for the PK48. Oh yeah, we see the other two sections of the cannon pod. That's the second sprue. Now this is how we got the Revell kits in Australia, in bags rather than in boxes. And this is a 1984 release of their 1962-63 moulding. And it's got a real 80s price, I remember that. As I said in other videos, it was about $1, a bit under $1, so 95 cents. And they had the staples here. I've pre-removed those because I cut my fingernails just as well in 2025 as I did in 1984. So, out of the bag we go. Oh, this one's sealed. Oh, it's going to be a bit hard to... Oh. Going to sacrifice this one for the art. Ha. Putting up a challenge, 40 years on. Now, very much a rush of nostalgia here. Feels the same, it smells the same. Look at the decals first, because they're easy to get that way. German ones. Oh, 1982, okay. The instructions. Printed in West Germany when there was such a place. How to. On the back we've got the where the decals go, and inside so that is the instructions. Transparency. Then the sprues. Fuselage and wings. Very rivety. And I think I had one piece propeller. Exhaust stubs moulded on. Lots of rivets. And the one thing that got me about the rivets was, I think these days you'd call it a sensory thing. I just didn't like the feel of them. You know, the fact that they could reproduce them was a big deal in the 60s. Adds authenticity, extra authenticity. Here's the second sprue. And the final sprue, which has the undercarriage legs mounted in and a pilot and wheels, etc. And this is the Airfix version. I'm pretty sure this is a 1988 special edition release, the Aircraft of the Aces one, but I think it's a 1978 tool. So we'll have a bit of a look at this one. And we'll open it up. Not sure what was attached on this, but something apparently. So, looking at the instructions, Squadron Leader Robert Stanford Tuck. Bit of history. Marking layout. Decals. Yeah, pretty good. Transparency. Okay, you got two landing light covers on this one. Then the sprues themselves. Looks like they learned a few lessons from the Matchbox release. Details were a little finer. The Zuz fasteners, things are there. A bit of raised panel lines. Integral exhaust stubs. Pretty good fuselage detail. And the upper wings. Landing gears. One thing that all three of these kits have in common is you've got a raised undercarriage set of undercarriage doors and a lowered undercarriage set of undercarriage doors. And it's, yeah, 1978. So comparing the fuselage sections, we have Matchbox, 1973. We have Airfix, 1978. Pretty good forward fuselage detailing there. We have Revell, showing its age from 1962 or 3. Comparing the wings. Basic Matchbox detail. Airfix obviously decided to get ahead of the game. And again, we see Revell showing their age. But, you know, pretty good for the early 60s. So that's the wings. So thank you for joining me again, folks. Please let me know if there's anything else you'd like to see. And again, I'd like to thank scalemates.com and matchboxkits.org for information. Cheers, folks.